Pollock is with us, Penn State Extension, and of course always brought to you by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Bob, good morning. Thanks for sending us the bee gal a couple of weeks. My goodness, we had some good conversations with her.
That's very good. That's what I was hoping for.
Yeah, she really broke it down for us. So Margarita did the job talking about bees and the bee colony and what we can do to help it. And so now we're back as normal. And if somebody wants to call and ask Bob a question, 479-1160 is a line that is open for you right now. Bob, just let me put you on hold for a second and bring you back.
Okay.
All right, Bob is back with us now. A couple of questions for you this morning, and I was joking about it with you, but it probably is a rather serious topic. These Chinese seeds that are showing up in people's mail, they're getting packets of seeds.
Yes.
That's that, and they're seeds that are invasive plants that could actually do much harm. So what do you do with them?
Right, and the boxes are labeled as jewelry, but instead have these unlabeled seeds in there.
Mm-hmm.
And they could be anything. They could be weed seeds. They could be harmful plants. They could have toxic materials in them. And we have plants growing out in our environments anyhow that can have toxic materials in them. But we don't know anything about these, where they came from, and nothing's been reported yet on the actual identity of what these seeds are.
Mm-hmm.
So they've given some very specific, and it's a scam thing, but it's a whole other version of a scam.
Yeah. So what I can envision is somebody getting one of these, and maybe they live out in the country, and typically when they have yard waste or anything, they just take it over to the woods and throw it in there. And in this case, you do that, you might end up with something growing out there that you have no idea what that is. That's
right, and that's what they want to prevent. It could be something harmless, but then on the other hand, it could be something that spreads very readily and becomes very difficult to control, like a number of invasive plants that we have around the region in the country.
Yeah.
So they're really asking that if people receive a package like that and it looks suspicious, don't even open it. And they're asking that you call the U.S. Department of Agriculture's confidential anti-smuggling hotline.
Hmm.
And there's a 800 number, 800-877-3858, 877-3858, or you can email sitc.mail@aphis.usda.gov.
Okay.
And they will give further instructions of how to handle that package.
All righty. That's one thing we talk about today. Here's another, and I know it'll be a great surprise to you when I ask you this, but I simply know that it's on the minds of many, many people, and the weather might have played the best and biggest role in this. At this time every year, we're talking about blight. Is it around? Early blight, late blight? Particularly, we're thinking about our tomato plants. I haven't seen signs of it around here.
No, and that's right. Late blight is not around, and that typically attacks potato and tomato. The closest actual reports of it are in North Carolina for the week.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been very isolated. One on tomato reported the middle of July in North Carolina, and on potato, and that was in Alabama back in June. So that's been moving. It's not really been moving much at all, which is good.
Yeah.
But we always have to be cognizant of it, and when we get these storm fronts that come through, that, of course, can move it around and bring it closer. So every one of those, we just have to be on the lookout. Downy mildew is another disease complex that typically gets on cucumber and other vine crops. That has been moving around, and it's actually been confirmed this week in Blair County. Of course, that's Altoona, so that's not very far away, within an hour of here. And then also in Lancaster and Chester County in eastern Pennsylvania. So that's been around, and it's also in Ohio and up in New York and Michigan. So that's always one that can be a problem and can wipe those plants out as well. It can move very quickly, just like late blight can on tomato. Cucurbit downy mildew can do the same on the vine crops.
Okay, all right. So those are a couple of things to be watching out for, and it's all vine crops.
Yeah, that is primarily vine crops. There's basil downy mildew, similar organism, but it goes after basil, and that tends to be around as well.
Okay.
Fairly common, but it'll wipe out basil plants in a hurry.
Okay.
Just like late blight will on tomato.
Sure. Okay, I had a question about planting ornamental grasses. So we see them more and more, and they are very, very pretty. And the question that I got this week about planting the ornamental grass, they basically look like a shrub, but they're actual grasses. The question that I got this week was, A, are these things rapid growers that are quickly going to get out of control? B, do I trim them? Do I cut them in some way in order to control that growth? And C, can I plant them anytime I want, or is there a specific season when I should?
And as far as planting goes, those can be planted. Mostly those come as containerized plant material. So we have a pretty big window there of opportunity from spring to fall to be able to plant those.
Mm-hmm.
There are many different species and cultivars of these ornamental grasses. Some will get 7, 8, 9 feet tall and be very aggressive, very clump forming, and other ones will only be 6 inches tall. And then there's all kind of variation between that. Some different colors. Some have a little bit of fall color. Some just turn straw brown in the fall. Most of them pretty much all of them will get ornamental-looking seed heads that blow in the wind, just like grasses do.
And that causes spreading of it?
So yes. So then those seeds can drop and germinate and grow new grasses.
Mm-hmm.
And some do that. Some are more aggressive than others as far as that goes.
All right, so
yeah, so they can, and then some will. They tend to grow in clumps, and then those clumps, as they get larger in size, they tend to grow out from where that original plant was.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'll almost get a donut hole in the middle. If you dig into that, eventually, after 4, 5, 6 years, you'll have this donut hole in the middle where the original plant was, and it's just expanded out from there.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so you can kind of control through pruning some of that seeds. If we don't let the seeds, we can enjoy them while they're immature, and then when they start to mature, you can remove those seed heads.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good way to help limit the spread of that. And then, or sometimes people just let them go all winter and then just enjoy the foliage there with the seed heads on and cut them back to the ground in the spring. Because that whole top growth typically dies back, so it's more like a herbaceous perennial in that the top dies back during the winter, and then in the spring you'll get a new flush of growth starting from the base and starting all over again.
Okay.
And then as those age and you get that donut hole in the middle, then you can take each one of those. So say late winter you go in and you mow it off. You can use hedge clippers to knock them down. A weed eater with a blade on it will work as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's quicker. And then you can take a shovel and you can just take clumps of that and separate it. And if you need to plant a larger area, then you're propagating it that way. Or if you want to kind of rejuvenated a little bit, then you can cut those out, maybe replant one or two, and compost the rest.
So we're talking things like zebra grass and switchgrass and fountain grass, things of that nature, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Very good. Anything else we need to know about this morning?
Just continue to. We've had some rain, so in the vegetable garden, especially on tomatoes and the vine crops, we are having enough wetting periods that we can get diseases going, like early blight and septorial leaf spot and some of those types of diseases. So you just want to be cognizant of that, be monitoring that, and then, of course, most diseases we need to treat preventatively versus insects.
Is that copper sulfate? Is that the spray that you put on?
Yeah, that's that's definitely one of the options for the disease complex on tomatoes that we can use. And just do that on every 7 to 10 day basis, and that'll help keep the foliage as well as the fruit in good shape and prevent it from getting some of these diseases. Very good.
Very good. Well, thank you. You sounded good in your first day back.
Oh, well, thank you.
He's Bob Pollock from Penn State Extension. The county is going to be moving around some offices, including in the building in which you're located. Are you staying there? As far as we know?
No one's told me any different.
Okay, well then let's go with that.
I'm not always the first to know, though, so...
All right, Bob.
I might go in the key. I won't be able to get in.
That might not have anything to do with moving the office. Thanks, Bob.
Hey, you're welcome.
Have a great day. It's the voice of Indiana County, WCCS. WCCS.